really? Ellen says, technology, baby. We got technology. You listen to this podcast, we're full of technology right now, man. I got technology coming out of my ears.
Well, and you're just staring at an image of yourself, and you seem to be rather smitten with it.
I am. I'm looking pretty good today. You know, the bags under the eyes are a little down. You know, I think hair color looks good. The follicles aren't coming back in on the forehead, so I got a lot more forehead than I thought. Which reminds me of a comment that I just heard from my daughter as I sent pictures of my lovely trip to Tahoe and Napa.
Nice.
Is that she said, Dad, I need more scenery, less forehead.
Nice.
She's an awesome girl to keep Chris in place because somebody's got to do it. I can't.
Yeah.
So there you go. So
you don't want her saying those things behind your back.
Right.
It's better to
trust
just
me,
it
comes full frontal. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right between the ears.
She doesn't hold anything back.
Not a thing.
Yeah.
Not a thing. So that's what it does to keep me in check. But we are back, Alan, and we have got a great episode. Somebody that we both know. One of us knows a little bit better than the other. And it's not who you're all probably thinking out in podcast land.
It's not always about Chris.
But believe it or not, this one's going to be more about Alan. And NC. And that's the shortest podcast we've ever had, guys. We'll see you guys all later. No, I'm just kidding. We're just going to stay with it. We're going to keep doing. We got Todd Howard in studio, and he's actually graced us in our basement, bitches, not my kitchen. How about that?
Nice.
Because we're going to be talking about niches in the kitchens of the niches of the, I don't know. We'll work on that later. But
niches bring riches.
Niches up the riches.
Bitches.
Niches bring riches, bitches. That's how I'm talking about it. That's the only way I've ever been able to say it. So Todd has.
So I don't have to ask if we can say bitches on this podcast.
Well, I guess
apparently we can.
We've crossed that line. Okay.
Yeah.
We're over. We're on it. Let's do it. Let's go. And if you're offended by that one, just go ahead and turn it off. And if you're not, and you want to learn something, stick with this, man, because you want to get better. You want to get bigger in your business. You got to figure out how bigger and better work, because as Warren Buffett said, bigger is not better. Better is better. And Todd today is going to talk a little bit about how he helps people get better in their business by finding out what their niche is in their service market quicker. And this is going to be a pretty fun one. But before we get there,
cheers.
Let's cheers, because
it's been a while.
We're drinking.
And you're not supposed to.
Modelo's and Classic City Lager. Classic City Lager. We have an opening for a sponsorship. We will be working on that because Monday Night City Brewing, Classic City. We'll see who we like. I don't know.
Yeah, Creature Comfort's pretty strong Monday night.
All right. You know, so we are for sale. I'm just going to put it out there. Speaking of bitches, we are for sale. You might see me in the corner at Cheshire Bridge here in Atlanta. But don't worry, I won't come up and ask your name, baby, as I just found out that's the code word for you looking for some companionship tonight.
What, if you ask somebody their name?
On Cheshire Bridge Road.
And how did you find this out?
A friend. I asked. I'm talking for a friend. Actually, one of my employees told me that story. I said, "Dude, I've been up and down Cheshire Bridge over the last 15 years. I can't tell you how many times it's never happened." He goes, "Well, you're going at the wrong time of day. That's your problem." I said, "Well, you probably got me on that one."
Yeah, well, it's probably a good thing you aren't going down the wrong time of day, Chris.
That's probably right. So, Todd, welcome. So Alan knows you very well, but the rest of us don't. So where the hell are you from?
I am originally from Oklahoma.
Okay.
I got to grow up in the Philippines, which was cool. My parents moved me there when I was 11. And I came back to the States and ended up in Georgia and have not left.
How about that? So Philippines, that must have been a great culture shock for you at 11. How long were you there?
I was there until I graduated high school.
Very cool.
It was a fantastic way to grow up.
Yeah.
If you can raise your kids in an environment like that, do it.
So you didn't freak?
I wasn't old enough to freak out. I didn't know
about girls yet.
Yeah, I mean they have girls there.
Really?
They do.
Well, there you go, Alan.
They're quite pretty.
How about that? That was very racist of you, by the way. Filipinos have women. They have girls and women. And you, I mean, am I
going to get canceled by Filipino women now?
You're getting so canceled by Filipino women, and you are such a U.S. centrist. I mean, what are you doing? Filipinos.
I'm so ashamed.
Okay, good. Now that we have Alan back in his place, this podcast is not about Alan.
Oh my God.
Yes.
All right. Now I've established male dominance again. Let me just run around the room real quick and pee around a circle, and then we'll get back to. Okay. So
we will get to you eventually, Todd.
So Todd, you grew up in the Philippines. You learned. You said you didn't know anything better. So when you came back, you felt like, man, you had the best way to go.
I had culture shock when I came back. The U.S. is just a rich place. It just, in the Philippines, we had a whole lot less. There were a lot more beaches and traveling and simple living.
Beaches.
Okay. Yeah.
Not yet. We're getting to the other
soon.
Ones.
Soon. Not yet.
We were already
niches are not niches.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a great way to live.
So you
And
came back, go to college, start a business. What'd you do?
I went to Clemson University.
Okay.
My parents were still living overseas. And so I went through the broke college student route. I worked at the police department. And so I worked third shift, 11 at night till 7 in the morning, so I could study. And then class at 8 in the morning, in bed by 1 or 2, up at 10, back at work at 11 at night. And I did that to pay my way through college.
Wow. What did you do at the police station?
I was a dispatcher because I could sit at a desk and do the work that I needed to do.
So you could study while you're dispatching.
I
Because
could
it was usually a little slower.
Yeah.
Unless
yeah,
it was Saturday night
It's
after
slow,
a football
it's-
game.
Yeah.
Did you have a different dispatch voice?
I didn't. I tried. I wanted that really deep dispatch voice, but after a while, who cares? I was there because I could get the credits to go to school.
What was your
And,
dispatch stage name?
Yeah, I didn't have a dispatch stage name. I didn't. I got to work in a different.
This is Amber calling for Officer 511.
Yeah, for a
Mercedes-
while.
Mercedes.
I got to work in a different a county sheriff's office, and I delivered a baby over the phone.
Oh my God.
That's cool.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, for real.
Did you have any idea how to deliver a baby, or were you looking it up real quick, or what?
Well, you you watching a television, you know how to do it.
Oh, so breathe and push.
Water and blankets, and yeah, you walk them through it. No, I had a little bit of an idea what I was doing. I was trying to keep progress going until the ambulance got there. The ambulance took too long to get there, and so the baby was born while I was on the phone with this woman. I didn't do anything. She delivered the baby. I was just trying to be encouraging, trying to keep the freak out factor down.
So
So
you're on
really
the,
on my
you're on the
side.
phone with the person giving birth, not
Yes. And
the,
yeah, there's one other person they were passing it back and forth. It sounds like it was mayhem on that side. I was trying to be a very calm voice and just get them through it.
Right. I can just imagine this because this is before the internet. You said, "What do you look it up?" You probably didn't even have the internet. I mean, I know he's
Right.
younger than us, but was that even a thing? It probably wasn't. So
No.
you're like, so
it was AOL.
So I watched on Chips TV, and I saw they did this, and Ponch said you should push now.
Yes.
Okay, good job. But no,
Boil,
what you
boil
did
some
was-
water.
It felt a little bit like that. Yeah. Yeah. Get some clean water, get some towels, just be ready. I had no idea what I was doing, but it worked. It worked.
What a life experience to
Yeah.
do that, though. You probably got to see a lot more than anybody ever really wants to see. I know this guy doesn't like to see much about the seedy underbelly of the world. But all right, so you come out of Clemson with a degree, and so obviously you went into criminal stuff.
No, I got a degree in language and international trade. I thought I was going to have an import-export business. I thought I'd be a big shot, moved to Charleston near a port, and none of that happened.
Okay.
Instead, I moved to Atlanta, and I joined a technology company. I completely bullshitted my way through the interview. They kept saying, our technology has this and that. And I was nodding, furiously, like I knew exactly what they were talking about. Not a clue. And the president of the company that I was interviewing with asked me a really long question, and he meandered quite a bit. And then at the end of his question, which was no longer a question, it was a story, he looked at me and said, "What was the original question I asked you?" And I was able to answer him. And he said, "You get the job." He was
Whoa.
impressed that I had been able to keep track of his original question, even though he wandered all over God's creation for
A
5 minutes.
narcissist.
It was
You
strange.
can do that,
but
Chris?
I can. I can't follow him, but I can do what he just said. I can do that the CEO did.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that could
I'm
be
good
your,
at that.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna start doing that more and more. What was my original question?
What was my original question?
You know what? You're lucky enough. You remember, you get to stay working with me. I mean, I would have said, you know what? Good luck, because I'm not going to work with you if that's the way you roll.
Yeah.
But you did. So you got into technology instead of doing import export, instead of doing
Yep.
bad boy shows and doing cop stuff. You said, I'm going to go technology. Sounds like a great play because technology is hot.
Yeah. Well, this was in the early 90s. So technology was just the thing. That was
Yeah.
that was the ship I wanted to get on, even though I didn't understand it. And what I gravitated to in technology, though, was creating products. That was something I could kind of wrap my head around. And I'd never learned how to code anything. I wasn't really interested in technology. I actually don't like technology very much, but creating products, competing with other technology companies, everybody's kind of in this race to build the next cool thing. I enjoyed that part of it. And that started, me on a path of being really interested in products and product creation really through today.
Well, and unique selling propositions too, right?
Unique selling propositions. Yeah.
Oh, that's a prompted statement. Oh, sounds like somebody might know Todd. Why don't you enlighten us on what unique selling proposition statements?
No, it's just the fact that he focuses on business niches now. And you've heard the story of somebody who's just kind of flailing in their business. And Chris, you and I have talked about that before. When you first start your business, you say yes to everybody because you can't take margin to the bank. You have to take cash to the bank, but you end up failing by saying yes to too many people. And it isn't until you narrow down what you do to be an expert in a field that you find success. And that's what Todd helps you do. So he learned about USPs.
Unique selling propositions.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's get unique. But
It wasn't a setup. It was just an observation.
It was a great transition.
You're testy. You should have another beer.
you know what? Don't help him. It was not a great transition. He does not get a great.
It was a great transition. Did you notice that?
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, you can tell I'm getting teamed up on people. You know what? And the podcast is over. What? Nope. Let's go. We'll see you next episode. All right. No, back to Todd. So IT World did that, build products, build your unique selling proposition, building that tool belt to get back into the entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah.
So did you start another business while you were in this business?
Yes. So early on, I got bored.
Yep.
As much as I enjoyed what I was doing, it was a nice, steady paycheck. I felt like I could take a chance on something. And so a buddy of mine, he was in a residential building. He built himself a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And he has me up there one day and he's showing me this beautiful cabin that he built. He built it himself. And this was in the, I'm going to say probably late 90s. And he said, I built this cabin for $80,000 to $100,000. And the insurance company was just here to appraise it. And they appraised it at 160 or 170, something like that. And we kind of looked at each other and said, we can do this. Mm-hmm. How many of these houses can we build? And we started planning it. And in the early 2000s, we put together a company and started building these cabins up in the Blue Ridge Mountains.
When you say we and building, were you actually doing the swinging of the hammers or were you doing the financing and sitting back here checking the books?
I handled the subs, which was a circus. Imagine that.
I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah.
It normally goes pretty
books,
doesn't it, Chris?
Let me tell you how
the books, the subs, the scheduling. Yeah.
We'd have no problem with our subs.
Yeah.
We do exactly what they do. In fact, as I do this podcast, there's 2 of them haven't gotten back to me and it's 5:30.
Yeah. He had a construction company. So he handled a lot of that side of it. I handled the business side of it. But part of what we considered the business side of it was working with all the subs, scheduling them. And I have lots of, bad memories of driving from Atlanta up to the Blue Ridge Mountains to meet some plumber who never showed up and all of the circus that went along with that.
Yeah.
Were you trying to do a niche kind of a thing with the cabins at the time?
We knew. So in the early 2000s, the residential market in this area was just kind of going bananas. People were, building like crazy.
In the Blue Ridge Mountains or in Atlanta?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
But in the Blue Ridge Mountains, it was picking up. But they were very high-end luxury mountain homes. We could not do that. We did not have that kind of budget. We built one spec home. We both went in on together a home loan, got a spec home built, and we would bring people to it as a model. The way that we got that business going is we came up with a unique selling proposition for investors. We went to investors and we thought to ourselves, people like flipping homes, but flipping homes is risky because you have no idea what's going to happen once you actually start the project. You could find anything. And so we thought, what if we could tap into that idea of flipping homes, the excitement around that, but take away the risk? And so we went to investors, potential investors, and said, look, we would take them out to this lot in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And we would say, if you buy this home, and we would have taken them to my buddy's home. And then if you build this home on that lot, and we brought a realtor with us, this home is going to sell for this much money. And here's a realtor that we brought to tell you that we're not lying to you. So you, Mr. Investor, buy the land, pay us a fixed fee. We will build you this house, give you the keys, and walk away. You have instant equity and a realtor that's ready to sell it for you. Now, maybe people do this all the time. We didn't know that. We thought that up. And when we pitched this to people, they said, yeah, we're in. And it actually went faster than we thought. We built 10 of these inside of a year. And I'm living in Atlanta. I have a full-time job. And my buddy, he's still got his construction business going. So we're kind of doing this on the side, which is why we relied so much on these subs. And so that was a very busy few years. But yeah, it worked because we had this very unique model that we were able to take the investors and get them to fund what we were doing.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. You actually said this has probably been done. Guess what? A lot of businesses, a lot of this has already been done before. I mean, we're not inventing the new next thing. We're not taking rocket ships up into space with people. We're not doing subs down to the, never mind. But so you had it, but
it's a little too soon for that one, Chris.
But you did it, and you were able to kind of dream it, believe it, and do it. We talked about that, and that's the Disney model, dream, believe, and do. But you did it. You're able to make this thing spin. You did 10 in a year. So why aren't you still doing it?
Because 2008, we got out barely. I mean, we had one spec home still on the books, and we held it for probably 2 years. We sold it for maybe a $50,000 loss, which, hurt us at the time. We're not, we weren't rolling in it. This was a side gig.
Mm-hmm.
And so we finally offloaded that last spec home. But it was a great experiment to show me what we could do just by coming up with a conventional business and coming up with a unique angle for it. I knew nothing about construction. I still don't know a ton, but I looked at it from the business angle and said, if we can come up with a unique model for this thing, it'll work. And it did.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that idea. I mean, I think in this area, in that, now that place is booming, but it still is a viable idea. Anybody listening right now, hey, but that seems like a good idea. Oh, it's the time has passed.
No, not at all.
Of course it's not.
Yeah. The investors, even a few years ago, came around and said, are you guys interested in doing that again? Because, of course, the homes that they had back in the early 2000s, the prices have skyrocketed. And so they've done really well. I mean, a fixed bid, brand new home, that's a good gig.
All right. So you got out of that one. You're still in the IT thing. And then what?
Yeah, got out of that one. And then I came up with a different idea that eventually became co-working. But of course, I had no idea what co-working was. Mm-hmm. So because I was working in technology and traveling back and forth from Atlanta to the Blue Ridge Mountains a lot, I worked in a lot of coffee shops. And I remember every time I would walk into a coffee shop, there's a bunch of guys sitting around with their laptops in a coffee shop trying to get work done. And I kept thinking, there's something here. And one day it was right in Alpharetta. I was at a coffee shop, and there were these 4 ladies. Well, wait, there were maybe 3 or 4 of us business people that were all sitting there with our laptops working just independently around the coffee shop. And in the middle of the coffee shop, there were these 4 ladies cackling like chicken. I mean, just really loud, laughing, up and down like a roller coaster. And they had built.
They're all jacked up on caffeine, getting ready to Cheshire Bridge, going, "Hey, baby, what are you doing tonight?"
Right.
You Alpharetta, I got you numbered, maybe.
Bunch of Karens.
Anyway,
go ahead.
How dare they have fun in coffee shops? All right, continue.
And they're playing dominoes, and they're stacking the dominoes on top of each other, and they're building this stuff. And then all of a sudden, the dominoes fall, and they go all over the floor, and there's this big crash. And
it's a metaphor.
I look at the other people who are trying to work, and we all just sort of look at each other. And I thought, we need a place that we can go and get work done that feels like a coffee shop. And I kind of put this model together in my head. And again, went out and found an investor and got a place in Johns Creek and put together this business where people would come in and pay a monthly fee to have a place to work. It's getting out of their basement, getting out of the coffee shop. And I thought that there would be this community of entrepreneurs that would start working together. And maybe a couple of years into it, I was flying somewhere. I picked up a magazine, flipped a few pages, and read this article on co-working. I had never heard the term co-working before.
Right.
But obviously there's multiple people trying to solve the same problem. I was just one of them.
What a great idea. So you got that up, you got that started, got it going. Did you end up selling out, exiting out of that one? What happened with that one?
That failed miserably. I should have learned from my technology background and built that in an agile methodology, which basically means
Ooh, that's a $2 word there.
Woo, agile methodology. But let's find out
You
what
like that?
agile
All right,
methodology
let me explain
talks
what
about
that means.
for us contractors and real estate brokers.
That's right. In this
You-
context.
You got a real pretty mouth, Todd.
Oh, easy. Okay. So the mistake I made is I spent most of my money to build a great looking facility to lure people in. I wanted them to see the finished product. What I should have done is I should have found 3 or 4 guys that wanted to all go in on sort of co-leasing a space and start to build the vibe that I wanted, and then slowly bring people in little by little. And as a result, the business would slowly grow, but I would never overextend myself on the cost. And that's what I mean by the agile method. This, try, learn, fix, repeat kind of a cycle that technology companies are very good at. And I was in technology and I completely blew it. I should have been able to figure that out and I didn't. I was too excited about launching my dream. And so I spent all my money to put together this finished product, and the cost sunk me. And so I had to shut it down.
Yeah, I think I've heard this from another guy who went out there and bought a really big showroom, and not you. I'm talking about the kitchen remodel.
I was going to say this is starting to hurt.
I know, but he went big time and built this really awesome kitchen remodeler. Yet his business model was never to lure people in and get kitchen sales off the street. I'm like, he was hoping that would become another channel. If you build it, they will come, and that's what you just did. You went, if you build it, they will come.
All hat, no cattle.
Yeah. Whoa. What do we have?
All
hat, no cattle.
All hat, no cattle.
No, you're right. Nobody's there. I got it. Took me a minute. Woo! All right, podcast back and going. Chris, let's pick up the steam. Let's get it going.
Almost broke Chris.
It did. Wow, I was not agile. Okay, so I was using that a different way. So just keep up with me. Let's get back to this. So, but you're learning, and I think that's the thing that's very interesting about, especially where you are now in your career. Is if we take it back, you've been learning ever since you went to the Philippines, and always doing it and applying it and thinking about what you learned today and how you could use it in a different space tomorrow. And I love how you said twice. Well, I don't know if that was ever been done before. I didn't know there was a term for that. Like, I guess I was supposed to. Well, you're not supposed to. I mean, you're not making the market. You're making the market in your area. You don't have to make the name to have a market. So, all right, that failed. Now what?
Yeah. So then I went into another area. I was really interested in the idea of men's groups. And I believed that there was a different version of men's groups that was possible. Most men's groups that I had ever heard of teach guys. They basically bring guys in and say, look, you need to be a better husband, a better father, a better leader, a better whatever. And they go about trying to change men. And of course, men don't want that. That sucks. But what men eventually find in a men's group is this sense of community, these lifelong friendships. And I thought, well, why can't a men's group just go right to that? Why can't it just offer connection right out of the gate and do a really good job creating that? And so I put together a model for that. And I'd been doing this for quite a while, but I really wanted to figure out, how do I expand this to more guys? And that has really been more of a passion project, less of a business, but it was still the same kind of thing. In all of these stories, whether it was the cabins, the co-working, or trying to create a new model for men's groups, I was coming up with an original idea, and I was betting big. Sometimes it bit me, but I was really trying to go for it because I figured I needed to really jump off some kind of a cliff and really get something going. I didn't want to wade into the pool really slowly.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me if I started my business, if I try to do it on the side, do a side hustle in the handyman world, he said, if you're halfway in, you're all the way out. There's no way you'll be able to get that rolling. And in some models, there's some great side hustles out there. I've been looking at some of these things. Like I always thought the ice machines, you've seen these ice machine, the igloo boxes that are in parking lots,
right,
that make ice for people. I think that's ingenious, because if you ever go to a racetrack or a QT or a auto filling place, for people,
gas
stations that are convenience stores as well. When you go there in the morning, man, that ice is getting raided by every landscaper, contractor, roofer. All the trades are there, and the ice is just flying out of that place in the morning. So I saw these igloo things. I'm like, Boy, that's a really good idea. It's a side hustle. You could do that. But if you're going to try to really run a business and get it rolling and get it rocking and actually become a major primary income source, it's do not pick handyman, do not pick contracting. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say just from personal experience, Todd is kind of low playing the men's group thing that he did because it's got a great website. It's extremely compelling. He has a very specific methodology in a way to get guys comfortable sharing their innermost secrets. It started off faith-based. I think there's still a component of that, but the types of people that he got to write some of the guides, and it's, again, to his point, it's not there to teach you to do something, it's to stimulate conversation, often about leadership and decision making and things like that. I mean, it's the people who've been in it, it's been pretty compelling. And then to some of the lengths that he went to try to market it. I mean, when you think about an entrepreneur and you think about somebody just throwing 110% in, it was Todd. And it was really interesting to watch. And it's kind of interesting to see this pattern continue to repeat itself to where you are today.
Yeah.
Now, if I wanted to go out there, I'm listening to this podcast, and you know what? I got a great idea. I think I've got a group of guys that if I had a little bit more of a model, I could implement that with my, in Spain, they call it the choca, which is the group of men who get together without women to talk and to share things. And
also now we're canceled by Filipino women and Spanish women.
Yeah, they're out. They're out. Gone. By Spanish women. But could I lease your model? Can I rent your model? Can I buy your model? Is that available still for purchase? Or
it's available. Go to firepitmensgroup.com.
Nice.
I call it Fire Pit. And it's a subscription model. You sign up and you're off and running. It's ready to go.
There you go. If that one tickled you, I'd say go out there and check it out. Having seen these guys a little bit and what that's produced for them and the tight-knit group that they are, it's pretty cool, pretty awesome. Like I said, I got to see it in Spain in a different format, and I tried to explain your fire pit thing to them, but my Catalan Spanish, even any Spanish, it's horrible. So I did not communicate it very well. But anyway, I got La Choca.
That's cool.
So, all right. So now we're talking about helping other people find their unique selling proposition or their niche, because what do we know about niches?
Niches bring riches.
Niches bring riches and bitches.
Niches
That's
lead to
right.
riches. That's right.
Yeah, I love it. So
All
niches to the riches.
So while I'm working on these side businesses, I have the stable work of consulting product strategy work in the technology field. And what I was helping people do was come up with product ideas. And I kept talking to them about niching their business. And all of this sort of came together at one point. I was working with one particular company, and I realized I've put together a model that really helps someone figure out what they are best at doing, what they are most competitive at delivering. And I started to build that out for the solopreneur, for the small business owner. And I actually tested this idea. I'd been working on it for a while, and I went to a conference, and I would just walk into groups of people where everybody's sort of talking about what they do. And it would get to my turn, and I would say, I've developed a formula that helps people find their niche. And people would, like, their mouths would open, they would look at me and they'd follow me. And, how in the world did you do that? Can you explain this to me? I was supposed to catch a bus from this conference to some cocktail party, and this guy was saving me a seat on the bus. I didn't realize this. And like a dork, I missed the bus. He gets off the bus as it's leaving and comes and meets me on the sidewalk and says, "Can we ride together? I want to hear about that thing." And at that conference, I realized this is really in demand. If I can finish this model out and really take this to market, there's no really great formula out there that helps someone find their niche. People have to sort of fall into this over time just by listening to their customer and slowly making adjustments. But I thought if I could shorten that time to literally 5 meetings, that's how long it takes me to help someone find their niche, then they know what they bring to the table. They know exactly what they're doing for the customer. We do a competitive analysis. They know exactly how to fit in the competitive landscape. They don't have to criticize their competitor. They're just sliding into their slot. They can pick their niche market. And then at the end, I help them build a product that is literally a niche product for the market they chose.
So there we go. I think if you're a left-handed vegan carpenter and you're looking for a special hammer that swings left-handed, not right-handed, and if anybody knows what I'm talking about,
And it has to be very light because they're hungry.
right, because they don't have any energy because they're vegan. There's no such thing
He
as
just
a
got
left-handed
canceled
hammer.
there too.
There we go.
Well,
let's
so-
keep knocking them out. But let's go back to this. Go.
Well, I got a question for you, because when you say I help people figure out what they're good at, I mean, it seems to me that most people, if you said, what are you good at? They'd be able to tell you.
That's true, but they can't figure out how to apply it to their business. They can't figure out how to say, if you were to ask somebody who is spread too thin, they have a way general focus, they're working with too many markets, to pick one of those markets and pick one or two products and build their entire business on that one market and that one or two products, they would freak out. They don't know how to do that. They need to keep this general focus because they feel like they need to cast that wide net and keep the business coming in.
He talks with his hands, just for the listener. He talks with his hands.
Dude, he has hit that microphone
He-
like at least
seven
fucking
times. And you can see he was really good in the boardroom because he's got the big gestures, the
Right.
big hand gestures,
Right.
but he keeps balling.
I love him. I love him being in person, but I'm thinking of the niche I'm going to bring is probably, I'm going to bring pencils. Every time he hits it, I'm just going to throw pencils out.
Get that nail gun out.
Yeah. Start dancing, big boy. Start dancing. No, I know I've been through all, actually it hasn't. It only has hit me because every time you hit it, Alan gives you the started look. I'm like, don't worry, the sound won't even. That's so now everybody knows because we just talked about it. But back to finding niches. So that, I think that's a solid question, because I think if you're listening, you're like, well, what do you mean you're going to help me find what I do? Well, that's business coach. That sounds like I got to find myself. This sounds hokey pokey, hocus pocus, da 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 da. Tell us an example maybe of one where you took them from a wide berth down to the niche and off they go.
Yeah. So I had worked with a business coach, and business coaches obviously want to play general. They want to come in and say, look, I'm going to get your business going. I'm going to help with marketing and sales and 5 different things. And in order to find his niche, what I needed to do is help him find a unique approach where he was doing a very particular thing to help someone grow their business. And so as we were going through the framework, I found out that he was a pilot. And I said, okay, tell me about being a pilot. And he got all excited. And he said, well, when you start out being a pilot, there are all of these rules around being a pilot, because obviously you're trying to minimize risk. And so in the beginning, you can only fly a certain altitude. You cannot go into clouds. You have to be able to see the ground. And then once you learn how to read the instruments and you get some more skills under your belt, then you can fly into the clouds and take more risk. And he summed it all up by saying, learning how to fly is all about learning how to manage risk. And so we made his business coach, we tied that in with his business coaching and said, look, what you can do if you want is you can help people start and grow a business by managing risk, because there are people that are horrified to start a business. They would love to, but they're scared to death. They're going to lose their nest egg. It's going to affect their relationships. There's all these risks. And so what you need to do as a business coach is take the unique approach of saying, I will help you build your business by managing risk. We are all about looking at the risks and minimizing those. The goal in year 1 is to survive. And then in year 2, we're going to take on a few more risks, and we're going to take that next step the same way that a pilot would work through his flying career. And so that's a unique approach that has him working with a very specific market, people who are at a stage in life where they'd love to start a business or need to start a business, but what holds them back is the fear of the risks that they're getting ready to take.
That's I think that's very powerful, and I know everybody he works with needs to be listening to this podcast because, well, we're just that awesome.
Well,
and
there's
that's
that.
exactly who we talk about.
Mhm.
So that has helped him focus in his efforts and his marketing strategy, because that's the other part of this, is that business coaches got to be constantly marketing themselves, and you can market yourself to quote unquote everybody, but that costs you a lot of money.
Yeah. When he
Expense.
his earlier website would say things like, are you overwhelmed? Are you stressed? Are you nervous about your business? And every business
Yes,
coach in the
yes,
world says
yes.
these things. I mean, all business coach, I would say 95% of business coaches' websites and marketing copy look exactly the same. They don't stand out at all. Now that he's gone through this process and understands his ideal niche, he's rewritten everything that he does, and he's picking up business with a very specific market.
Right.
He's that risk guy, and that identity has given him a focus that gives his business traction.
It's funny. It sounds so counterintuitive, just what you just said. Because, basically, instead of throwing out this marketing to all these people that might need coaching, I'm actually going to intentionally not appeal to 80% of them. But the 20% that I do appeal to, it's going to be very compelling.
Yes. Your customers, regardless of what business you're in, your customers have access to way more suppliers and vendors than, has ever been. And so if you can't stand out to them, if you can't really deliver a message that's going to resonate with them at a pretty deep level and pretty quickly, you're out. And so I don't like the idea of playing this numbers game where it's give me the biggest funnel you can possibly give me, and let me throw everybody in the universe in it, and I'll work them through my machine, and the business falls out the bottom. I don't like that. I like the use the scalpel, aim, find a very specific market that you understand really well, and build your marketing for them, and deliver an approach that shows up in your products that you built for them.
I think as you work with people, you can tell that, if there's something you want to get involved with Todd, we'll get his information out to you. You can just tell that when you work with him, number one, he cares about your success as well. If you can't get that coming through, it's easy to see here in the room with him, but you can hear it as well. But number two, the niches part is such a hard thing, because in the beginning, especially when I started my business, Alan alluded to it, I'd do anything to anybody at any time.
Big whore.
I would do anything because
big whore.
I didn't know. I was. Thank you. What was I?
Just in case you were a big fat whore.
I was too.
Yeah.
And I would do anything to anybody. But it's hard to find it, because you got to go out there and you got to do the trial and error. You got to do that. And so the question I've got for you is, I did it through trial and error. How would you have helped me go faster?
I would have taken you through this framework that I've got. I would have taken you through these 5 steps. So I'll walk you through them really quickly. The first one is we talk about your unique abilities. You should never go into anything unless you can specialize in it. We're now in that kind of an era where you need to be a specialist. So we start there. The second thing we do is we look at your understanding of the customer's journey. The customer's journey is the larger overarching story that a customer is involved in. It will involve a transaction, but you don't want to get focused on the transaction itself. You want to understand the larger journey. When you do that, you see that there's lots of opportunities in the customer's journey to provide value and therefore stand out. The third thing we do, we sort of start to hone this unique approach. Then we take a look at your competitors. When you're working with competitors, your job is not to get in the ring and start fighting your competitors for business. That's ridiculous. That is a losing proposition. You need to figure out how to finish this statement. Whereas they blank, I blank. And you should be able to answer that question for your top 5 competitors, so that when you're in a sales conversation with somebody.
Blank. I was writing this down, guys. So let
me.
Blank.
Sorry.
So
what word came to your mind when he said blank?
Suck. Keep going. And
Yeah.
I.
And you.
Kick their ass.
That's right. Scorched earth, slasher tires, pestilence, death.
Taking them all out, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Continue.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
This is like Mad Libs. Remember that?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
And
as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh, I'd give $1 million to know it. Went through Chris's mind as soon as he said
I did.
blank.
I wrote down, they suck. I went, oh, blank.
Whereas they suck. Yes.
That was
So you
3.
that was 3.
Okay.
You
See,
work
look at
out the
me.
competitor stuff.
I'm writing them down,
Yep.
and I'm going to get them all in the show notes. Keep going.
Yep.
Because you guys, we can all do this ourselves. We'll find out in a minute. Keep going.
The fourth one is we pick a market. And this always surprises people. When people want to think about their niche, they want to pick the market first. They want to say, I want to work with these people. And then they try and reverse engineer a product that those people would want. The problem is, if you do that, you might reverse engineer your way into something that you can't do very well.
Back to your unique abilities.
That's right. Now you
Solid.
can't specialize in it. So we actually figure out your unique approach first. And then we say, or we ask, which market is best suited for your unique approach. Then we pick your market. And the last thing that we do is we actually start building products. Your product should not be general. A lot of people will try and have a general product and then have niche marketing. And that doesn't work. That's always a letdown. People look at your marketing and they get excited and they think, oh, I found somebody that's really, they're really pushing my buttons here. And then you get to their product and it looks like everyone else's.
So an example of this, you told me the story of the carpet cleaning company. Is this a good example of this?
Yeah. I worked with a carpet cleaning company, and they had a technique that got the carpet clean without using soap. And it took care of all the bacteria. It was a very interesting story how they did this. They're based out of New Zealand. And once we figured out their technique for cleaning carpet, we realized that it's perfect for elderly homes, old folks' homes. I don't know,
assisted living.
Thank you. Assisted living.
The young youth challenged homes.
Yes.
Young youth challenged homes. Probably where we're going to be before it's all said and done. I mean,
Yes.
of course we're
Tonight.
going to be in them, but that's what we're going to be calling them. Because heaven forbid we call them assisted living. We can't do that. We can't use ADA anymore. It's going to be comfort height toilet. I just got done telling a guy this in the bathroom remodel estimate today. I go, well, they used to be called ADA toilets. Now we call them comfort height because who really wants to go down those extra 3 inches? I don't. So I said it's good for all of us. So anyway, back to New Zealand and cleaning assisted living homes.
Yeah. So he just figured out his unique approach, work with that market. And so he's been marketing around in New Zealand. He's doing very well. His biggest competitor offered to purchase his company because he's really been able to get into that niche and do quite well. And no one else has been able to do that.
Well done. There's a great example of, again, you can go onto YouTube. You think you gave us all the secret sauce. You guys will put the 5 steps out there, and I'll challenge every one of you. I mean, can you do it? Sure. Can you guys go change your own toilet? I bet you could. Guess what? My lake. Guess what?
It still wobbles like the one I did.
I guess it's going to take you 8 hours. And if you called a plumber, I bet you they have it done in a couple hours and it won't be leaking. So that's why you want to think about, listen to this approach. You could probably try to self-implement. I've done it with traction. But if you listen to it and you want to get some help, we know where we can get some help. So where can we get some help, Todd, and help us bring niches to get the riches?
Yep. A couple places. My website is growanichebusiness.com. People can find out about this program and schedule a call with me and hear more about it. Or you can follow me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Grow a Niche Business. And I'm putting out information like this, close to daily.
Awesome.
To help people out.
This has been really cool. I think actually sharing the framework, again, just like anything, you want to build your own house, you can. Yeah, you want to go out there and develop property and find investors, you can. You want to talk to somebody who's been in there and done that already and done it with a bunch of IT companies and worked on that. One thing I will say, though, is he said products. I would also argue, especially in my business, services as well. It can definitely map to that very easily.
I'm lumping all that together.
Well, and the thing that really strikes me is if you're starting a business today and then you look out at the landscape and there's competition no matter what you choose to do. And then there's some people who kind of seem like they own the marketplace. And so taking this approach, you're not taking on Goliath. You're just taking on this little niche.
Not at all, because Goliath cannot do the kind of things that you can do if you're a solopreneur.
Right.
That's why these other guys want to buy him, because he's become so in that New Zealand thing. I mean, what a great play.
He can afford to focus on that one market and do quite well. Goliath can't.
Yep. And that's why it's made him more, they're back to exit strategy, back to how do I get more out of this? How do you do this? And again, we say it all the time. It's the niches bring you riches, and you've done it. So go out and figure out how to grow a niche. Let's get out there, talk to Todd. He's willing to talk with you. You can figure it out, what's going on. But before we let you go, we have got to ask you our famous 4 questions, and he's bringing it out because he's done his research. He's got his glasses on, ready to go. This is a timed exercise. Number 1, give us a book that you would refer to all of our listeners.
He looks so studious with his glasses on and his notes.
My IQ went up quite a bit.
Yeah, it did.
Right now,
so smart.
A book that I enjoyed, a little dated, The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Maybe it's the technology background in me a little bit, but I liked he did a good job blending the idea of building a lifestyle and building a business at the same time. And I've recently been focused more and more on that.
I like that.
Sounds like a book you subscribe to.
I have the 4-hour work week actually in Audible, and I do the 4-hour work week, but I do it. It's funny enough. I do it like 5 times a day. So I don't know if I totally embrace it, but I figured if I'm doing it 5 times better than him, my 4-hour work week 5 times a day works out really well. So I have listened to it. I get what he's saying, prioritize, put yourself in that lifestyle of what you want to become. And unfortunately, my lifestyle is I want to burn the candle so hard at both ends that there's nothing left at the end of the week.
Wow.
How'd I do? All right. Number 2 question is,
That's all you need to know about Chris right there.
What's your favorite feature of your home?
I'm going to choose my office, and it's really about my desk. My wife bought me this very cool old antique desk, and someone, I don't even know this machine, but the old sewing machines that they used to bolt down onto the floor.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the platform of that sewing machine.
Yeah.
Those are the legs of my desk, and the tabletop of my desk are the floorboards that they took out of this old building. And this guy put together this beautiful desk, and I love sitting there. I love that old antique.
Do you know exactly where it came from in the world?
I don't. And he told the story, and I think I have it written down somewhere.
I think the story makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because if I told you that I was currently using a desk that Ronald Reagan used at one time, you guys would go, man, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have no flipping.
And he probably made it up and charged me an extra $100 for the story, but I don't care.
But the story, back to niches and telling the story with your business.
Yep.
Because people buy the story, but I would love to hear that story. And the reason I do ask is because with my manufacturing background, it did probably come from the Northeast. It could have possibly come from the textiles of North Carolina. And if it came from the textiles of North Carolina, those all came from the Northeast, and they've moved on down here. So it's a really good long story.
And how much is it worth, Chris? It sounds like we're on the Antique Pickers show.
We are. And so, and you know what you got to do? I just used this in my sales training this morning. In the picker show, you got to get them to get one thing. You got to get one thing. Guys, call Todd. Get one thing. Get a 30-minute call in with him. Because once you get him going, then we're going to start bringing it in. We're going to start buying signs. We're going to buy some of the Elvis memorabilia. I'm going to get that gas tank that I've always wanted to get that was from the 1930s. Whoops, I gone off. All right, let's get back to Todd.
Okay.
I took off. You can tell I've watched the picker show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So go back to Todd.
Question C.
All right. We have 4 questions, and number C is, what is a customer service pet peeve of yours when
You're the customer?
Thank you, Alan.
When experts won't play the expert.
What does
Really?
What does that mean?
Yes. So it goes back to the subcontractors with the cabins. And we'd hire an electrician, and we would assume he would do intelligent things like put the light switch next to the door, and he wouldn't do it. And one guy, he put the light switch next to the door that leads out to the balcony, not the main door of the house. And I said, Bill, this only makes sense if customers can fly. Can you fly, Bill? And we got into this huge argument. And my partner, he's getting out of his truck. He's coming up and getting in between me and this electrician. And of course, the electrician said, you guys didn't give me a blueprint. You didn't give me any instruction. And I got so angry. He said, Bill, you're an electrician. You're a master electrician. We are paying master electrician dollars. You don't need a blueprint to know to put the light switch next to that door. And of course, that the relationship didn't really take off after that.
Surprise.
But yeah,
I'm shocked because anytime somebody says, well, Chris, can you shove a feather up your ass and fly up there and fix it? Yeah, that's
yeah,
because that's the phrase I use. I'm like, I don't know, dude, you sold it. So do you want to put the magic feather up your ass and get up there? Because I don't know how to get to it.
yeah. So when I hire someone who says, I am an expert at this, trust me, I want to be able to trust you. Be the expert. Don't make a dumb mistake and then come back and say, well, you didn't tell me so. If it's a question that I didn't think to ask, you ask it. And let's
So if
get
you're hiring
a good
somebody to be
result.
an expert, you expect them to be an expert.
Correct.
That's a good one.
Correct.
Yeah, I like
and you're
that.
willing to pay. Yeah, that's another new one.
Mhm.
And I'm impressed.
You're
But I still like my feather up the ass.
I do too.
That's a better analogy.
It's
It's a great visual.
a better image than you in a unitard.
That's right.
For sure.
It's a singlet. It is a singlet. By the way, and I don't wear singlets, and I do not do powerlifting. But had I did it, I would have gone full singlet. and left all the hair in
All right,
America.
back to the feather.
All right, back to that.
feather.
Okay, back to feather. All right. Last question. Give us a DIY nightmare story.
Yeah. So for this, I painted a wardrobe. I spray painted a wardrobe in my garage. And I thought that I had this figured out. I took this large wardrobe, I put it in my garage. I closed the garage door because, of course, you don't want stuff floating in and getting on the wet paint. And I went to Home Depot and I bought the sprayer, to try and make get a nice quality coat. I didn't ventilate anything though. And so once I started spraying, my garage filled up with paint. It got all over my goggles. Fortunately, I was wearing a mask, but I was having a hard time breathing. And then I'm walking through the garage with my hands, stretched out because I'm completely blind, covered in paint, and I'm bouncing into the walls. And I couldn't, afterwards I thought, how would I have done that? How would I have ventilated to paint this thing without letting all the flies come in and get on this wardrobe? So maybe you can explain that to me. I still don't know how I would have done that.
Positive. You either get everything out of the yard and blow it out because it'll dry by the time it hits. As long as you're blowing out, the bugs won't be coming in.
Yeah,
that's one. Or you just do one opening and then you do a HEPA filter. But my mental image of you, I could just see. I was waiting for you to say you passed out because you forgot to put the mask on. I was waiting for I had because I have painted. And when we were done, even though I had a mask on, I had those little trails of white coming out from the nose. Like I had been sniffing cocaine for like 25 hours with Scarface. And I'm sitting there going, Dad, I feel a little high. I don't know what's going on. That's back when we were painting with lead too, but that's another story.
Explains a lot.
Oh, even better. I used to scrape it all off with the heat gun. Yeah, we didn't need masks for that because it wasn't going to splatter up. We need a mask for that stuff. Todd, this has been a fun episode. If you didn't learn something, I keep saying this, but that's why you're listening, right? Let's have a little fun. By the way, not in my kitchen, in our basement, overlooking the pool. How about that?
Yeah.
Big Daddy feeling big.
Wonder if his podcast is top 10%. Little freaking troll.
Yeah, you little troll. It's your podcast 10%.
We are literally no pants on.
We are literally 10 downloads away from being in the top 5%.
Wow.
That's how close we are. So, but we brag. Of course we do, because you know what? We know what the fuck we're talking about, guys. I mean, we bring people on who know what they're talking about. They talk, we listen, we ask a few things, we get involved, we do this stuff, learn something, get better, because each and every day, if you get better at things, we said 8 things, got to do 8 things to get better.
Yeah, 8 things a day, once an hour to advance your business, and you'll be fine in sales.
Right. So, does a nap count?
Advance your business, Chris.
All right, but I thought the sleep cycle. No. Oh, all right, guys. This is good stuff. Niches bring riches. Go figure it out. Grow a niche. Go check out Todd Howard, because I got to go figure out how to niche my business down, because after 15 years of doing this and being in 16,000 houses, which I've told my sales guys over and over and over, so much that they've all repeated it this morning to me the minute I said it. I said, now we're all learning. Go out there, and I got to figure out how to niche my business down. I'm out of here. We got to get going. Go.
Cheers.